Welcome to my video blog. Today I would like to talk with you about Bird Box for Christians. Like many other millions of people in America, I wanted to watch Bird Box on Netflix, the movie. But honestly, 5 minutes in, I realized I cannot do that for entertainment. Apocalyptic stuff with little children suffering. So I kind of scrolled through it and I realized, oh, it ends well, beautiful. But it really got me thinking about our Christian culture and how much we're occupied with the end times, with an apocalyptic, dystopian future expectation. And it's in the fundamentalist and the evangelical world widely accepted that that's our fate. It's set in stone. And so the movie kind of reminded me of what's going on in Christianity. You know, like we put a blindfold on our eyes so we don't see all the evil in the world. We don't let our kids go to certain places so that they don't get the evil implanted in them. I don't know if that's really a good metaphor. Like, I didn't really watch the movie, but it just got me thinking about all that. And you know, from a spiritual abuse perspective, which is my perspective, I reminiscent a little bit about my upbringing and how I ended up believing what I believe now about the end times. So in my German Baptist church, I was not exposed a whole lot to the end times at all. It didn't seem to really interest the people that would speak from the pulpit. And the first time I heard about it, I think I must have been 14 or so, was in a youth group when people were talking about that issue and of the interpretation of Revelation. And I remember that night because it started out by them saying something like, there are other interpretations of Revelation, but the one that we're going to teach you is the most commonly accepted one. I later realized that that particular interpretation is just within the offshoot of Protestantism kind of world. That's where that interpretation is very widely accepted. As soon as you talk to the Catholics or the Orthodox, you will find different interpretations, if not, just not an awareness of that whole anxiety around the end times. It just doesn't seem to be something that they're occupied with. So that's kind of food for thought there, that you can be a Christian without being occupied with the end times. Well, so to go back to that night at our youth group in church, I was told that the future of the world is going to develop as follows. Something like a one-world leader is going to rise up, and there's all sorts of wars and famines and diseases, and there's going to be a rapture at some point, and then there's going to be Jesus, the bloodiest general of them all, and he's going to lead the army, and lots of people are going to be slain if they don't confess the name of Jesus. And then finally, when everybody wants to be dead, the end comes. Wow. I want to tell you that that had a negative impact on my little soul and my expectation of the future. Thankfully, my church was not focused on that, so I was kind of left with all that doom and gloom by myself. But with the growing depression that I had as a kid and adolescent, it didn't help to believe that the future, that there was nothing I could do about it, that God had determined it was gonna all turn evil at some point, probably in my lifetime. Then let's fast forward to when I went to college. I studied theology, and I remember we looked at different end time scenarios or future scenarios from different religions. And one student was speaking for all of Christianity, and he presented again this view that it was all going to go evil and Jesus was going to slay all the ones that are against him. So it was kind of, it seemed to me that's it. That's what Christians apparently believe. And then when I joined my Church of the Living Dead, I was intensely immersed in end times beliefs and conspiracy theories, and I had dreams and visions, and everybody kind of had a sign or something that they picked up on, and it was confirming that it was coming soon. And I wasn't allowed on social media because they can trace you back when you're on social media. And I tell you, while I felt like I had secret intel, like I was like in the Matrix, I was the one enlightened one in society, it also caused grave anxiety for the future. It made me lose compassion. Every time I heard something bad was happening in the world, I lost a little bit more compassion for it, because I would tell myself, it's supposed to happen, God said, and so what are you gonna do, Everybody for themselves, and then the end comes, and hopefully I'll be one of the raptured ones and I don't have to deal with all that evil stuff. That was also the time when I watched these movies like The Mark of the Beast, and we read This Present Darkness, or the Left Behind series and all that, and I really took these things as theology. I took them as, this is our best guess of what God is saying and wants us to believe. But the reality was that it kind of made me into a bad person. It got me cold. It made me cold, and it made me arrogant and self-righteous, because I thought I was prepared by all the holy things that I was doing, and I could tell other people were not doing them, like fasting media, fasting alcohol, fasting going to see your parents, fasting to go on vacation, fasting to take a night off. We were always out and about and evangelizing people with our not so good news. So it turned me into the self-righteous, evil future expecting a person, and that didn't go so well for me. The end didn't come in those 3 years when I was in the group, and it hasn't happened in the 9 years that I've been out of the group. And I had encounters now many times. Obviously, I'm moving in different faith circles. There's a lot of people who still believe, and they're exactly at the place that I described for myself. And I realized I can't stay there. I cannot stay there. And so someone recommended a book to me. This is years ago, and I wanted to show you the book, but I borrowed it to someone. It's called Victorious Eschatology by Harold Everly and Martin Trench. That book I just read with, an open mind, and what I learned reading the book is that, oh my, there are very founded different interpretations of Revelation. There's a very clear interpretation that it didn't speak about the future, it spoke about the current events, that Jesus came to tear down the 666, the number of the beast, that Jesus came to end empire, that Jesus became King of Kings. That is the revelation, that Jesus is King. And so in very metaphorical pictures, the time of Jesus is being explained. And that resonated with me a lot. It actually felt like a great relief. It took away from me this expectation of the future, that certain horrible things are set in stone by God to happen. It blew away this dark cloud that was hanging over my life and my life's expectation of the future. It took that away, and that is why I am convinced that it is important for us to ask this belief that we have of the future. How well is that working out for us? Is it leading us to greater peace, or is it anxiety inducing? And for us now that have children, we should also consider, how does our faith affect our children? If I was 14 and I was exposed for the first time to all this doom and gloom, and it put a damper on my life, I don't even know how little children would deal with it. And obviously there's a lot on our website, the blogs, spiritualabuse.org, where there are stories where kids just have been traumatized because of that stuff, and were unable to sleep, unable to make choices for the future, because why do you do your homework if the world's gonna come to an end soon anyway? So I care about the damage that is being done in the name of being alert, watching for the signs. I now believe that Jesus, when he said these things of be alert, watch for the signs, that he was speaking to very specific people that needed to hear those warnings, and for them that listened and remembered when it happened, they maybe got out of Jerusalem before the whole fire burned down the whole city and the destruction of the temple in AD 70. So I think those words were real wisdom for that time, and I personally don't receive that is Jesus speaking to me about my future. I feel when Jesus says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, my yoke is light, my burden is not heavy." That speaks to me, that resonates with me, that gives me peace when I look at Jesus and I ask him, what about the future? What about the future? And I feel like he's saying to me, yeah, what about the future? There's freedom. What are you going to do? So rather than believing that God has his mind made up for the future, that he's going to rain blood on all of us, I think that love can make all the difference. I think since God is love and he's the creator of all life, I think that is his agenda. But I'm just rambling now and I'm telling you what I believe, and that has given me peace about the future. I just want to encourage you to reflect on how well what you're believing is serving you and your family. Does it bring forth peace, or does it bring forth anxiety? Also, our God is a God of now. He's the great I am, When you're so occupied with the future and trying to not miss the signs, are you missing your moment with the great I am right now? I never want to become cold towards the suffering in the world again, just so that I can feel like I'm doing my part, so that the rapture will rapture me up too, so that I won't be left behind. I feel like really the heavens are the limit of what is possible to happen with our earth, with our beautiful planet that God has created. And when we keep in mind that really, we're children of a God that is love and that is life, really, who can say what's going to happen? If you act on that, on love and life, I think that could change things very, very much for the better for everyone. It could change how we treat our planet, our environment. It could change how we feel toward people that are in need around the world. Yeah. And in our neighborhood, our very neighbor. So yeah, that's all I want to say today about the topic of Bird Box for Christians. And I want to encourage you to keep an open mind and maybe read that book that I referred. There's a lot of other good stuff out there. Brian Zahnd in Sinners in the Hands of a Loving God has a few chapters on Revelation too, and so does Brad Jersak. That's all stuff that I really, really enjoyed, and that has helped me clarify my thoughts. And it has also brought me greater freedom, which is kind of my litmus test for anything now, that I feel like it resonates with me and I'm wondering, is this true or is it not? Is it true for me or not? Does it set me freer? Does it bring me freedom? That's a good indicator that it's from God. With all that, I say I see you next time, unless the world comes to an end before that. No, just kidding. See you next time, everybody. Bye.